Old Alabama Gardener, talking about canning green beans, and I'm giving you lots of tips. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick these green beans. I'm going to do what's called pick them close. And picking them close means if it's almost ready, but it would probably be ready tomorrow, then I'm going to go ahead and pick it today. Because I don't want to be trying to can just 3 or 4 jars of green beans every day. I like to can one day, skip 1 or 2 days, and then can again. So by picking them close, I can do that, and then I don't have beans that gets too big for canning. So watch me as I go through this. So now here's a bean that it could wait till tomorrow, but probably by the next day it'll be too big. So I'm going to pick it. That's called picking it close. Here's some more. That could wait another day, but I'm going to pick them today because I'm going to can, picking them close. Nice green beans. So we got a basket full. All right, let's get in the house and get them in a jar. Now this brush here is a real tight fit in a pint jar. So you watch me as I'm able to clean out the inside of the jars. And also, whenever I use a jar of canned goods, I always wash the jar before I store it. So now here's our jars, all washed, rinsed, and ready. Now I've got to wash the lids. I'm going to use just plain old soapy sponge for that. But this time I'm not going to use the brush. Now here's a tip. When you get ready to put these lids in your hot water, if you put them together like they came out of the box, they will stick together in the hot water and you will have problems getting them out. So you see how I'm alternating them so that they're not clinging together. So the next step is to bring this water to a boil. This is 24 cups of water, not pints, but cups. And we'll dump all them beans in here and bring them to a boil and boil them for 5 minutes, and then we're ready to jar them up. So here's my sink of green beans, and now I'm going to cut the place where it was attached to the stem off, and also the little pointy end on the blossom end off. Now let's get them snapped, and that's why they call them snap beans. So you might hear it snap if you got your volume up. In the meantime, we'll get our jars ready. We've got 18 rings back here in the back. We got lids over there in that pan behind getting hot. And I'm going to start getting the pressure cooker ready. So it's going to go over there. The pressure cooker has a divider or a plate that goes in the bottom of it because you don't want your jars sitting down there on the hot bottom of the pressure cooker. Probably make them break. So you got this plate in there. And we got to have some water in there. How much? I frequently get the question of how much water should I have in my pressure cooker. And you see me measuring it here or there, and it's going to be about 3/4 to 1 inch of water up the side of the jar. Another thing we got to have is some paper for wiping the rims of the jar. Then we got to have our jar holding tools. And this is a magnet that's going to use to pick up the lids. We'll just hang it right up there. And this we'll put right back there. All right, now our water is boiling. Get the beans in there. Now while that's coming back to a boil, the canning books call for a half a teaspoon of salt per pint. I think that's too much. So I'm going to go with a fourth of a teaspoon of salt per pint. We got a pretty good boil going here. We're going to start our timer. We're going to do this for 5 minutes. And about every minute, I'm going to stir them. The reason I stir them around is so that all the beans will get exposed to good boiling water. Basically what you're doing here is blanching them. Our timer's up. Time to start putting them in a jar here. I'm going to fill the jar to slightly above full, but now this is going to be loose. And you'll see in a moment when I settle them down that it'll be really just about right. Now I'm going to add water to the jar, but I'm not yet bringing it all the way up to what they call the head space. I want to get some water in the jar so as I start to move the beans around, any air that's in there will bubble up and come to the top. Now take you some kind of a stick, it's a chopstick, and go down there and stir it around a little bit. Now once I've done that, you see it needs a little bit more water. Now we're ready to wipe the rim. Get us a hot lid. How tight should the ring be? I usually take it down to about finger tight and then give it another eighth to a quarter of a turn. And we go into the pressure cooker. Pressure cooker only holds 9 in the bottom. We got to put another panel in there. And this is what you do. Now that flange that you see me pointing to there, you do not want to put jars close to that because it will stop your safety lock from working. You need to get the jars away as you see there. Now that little button there is the safety lock. What it does is it prevents you from opening this lid when there is pressure in the pressure canner. So you want to make sure, as you see me doing here, that that lid is free, that button is free to move, and it can pop up, as I'll show you here in a few minutes, whenever the pressure gets in the cooker. Now we're ready to bring the pressure cooker up to producing steam out that vent pipe right there. We'll make it vent for 10 minutes, and then we'll close that off and we'll start to build pressure. Now you see me hold my hand over that steam vent, and that's so I can detect how much steam is coming out of there. And if I can feel it pretty good, then it's time to go ahead and start timing. What we're going to do is we're going to vent steam out this vent right here, ouch, for 10 minutes. And the reason why is because inside the pressure cooker, we don't want anything but steam. So we'll vent it for 10 minutes and then we'll close that off. As soon as the pressure cooker starts to build up a little bit of pressure inside, that safety valve right there, that safety button will come up. And on the back side, that little black button is also a safety. And if you overpressured the pressure cooker, that little button would pop out and prevent your pressure cooker from exploding. So our 10 minutes of venting steam is done, and now I've put the weight on it, and we're going to start to build pressure. Now you can see we're building pressure on the gauge there. We're already up to 5 pounds. We're going for 10. Right now I've still got the heat over there on high. I got it on 90. But I need to start turning it down because I don't want that to go over 10, or if it goes over, I don't want it to go over very much. So I turn the stove down to 6. But that's still going to make it rise pressure-wise. It's up at 9 now. I'm going to turn the heat down some more. Turn the heat all the way down to 3 over there. So we're now at 10 pounds pressure. So we're going to time it. We're going to hold that pressure for 20 minutes. Our timer is up. But that doesn't mean you can open that steam vent place there. Because if you did that, as the steam started escaping out of the pressure cooker, it would suck the water out of your jars. Because right now those jars are not yet sealed. They're extremely hot, but they're not sealed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this off of the heat. Now if you had a gas stove, you could just turn the gas off. But I don't have them, so I'm going to have to move this over here off the heat. And now we got to wait till that pressure gauge goes down to 0 before we can remove that, before we take the top off. Now the gauge is at 0, and this safety right here has dropped. It's still hot, but everything is okay. So now I can remove this, and there should be no steam come out, and there's no steam. Now it might be just a little bit of hot, steamy stuff in there. So my encouragement to you is wear protective mitts. Now you watch as I open this lid. I'm going to tilt the edge as closest to me toward the bottom. And that means opening that lid with the open part away from me, so that if there is any residual steam in there, it's not going to come out in my face. See the water in that jar boiling? All of them are boiling. Hot, 240 degrees. That's what steam does. Now I suggest that you wash your jars with light soapy water, because if you don't, there will be some mold that will start to grow on the outside and on the top of your jars. And the last thing I do before I store the jars away is to mark what it is and the date I canned it. In this case, it's rattlesnake pole beans, 3 June 2019.